Today, everything is available to us in an instant, right now. Drive-thrus, same-day shipping, information at our fingertips. At the click of a button, I can have pretty much anything that I want. Even this video, you clicked on it and now you're here. Everything is available to us how we want it and when we want it. Amidst all of this, fasting stands in contrast. To deny ourselves what we desire, even good things, is a hallmark of the Lenten season. We Catholics have all sorts of guidelines and traditions when it comes to fasting. And oftentimes we'll even choose something to give up for Lent. So in a world of instant gratification, what can we learn from telling ourselves no? Why do you think we fast?
Why do we fast? Because the Lord told us to.
I don't know.
I think it's biblical.
It's a good sacrifice and a good reminder.
It's a way to offer ourselves physically to the Lord.
I think it's just to, fast before the feast.
So it's just giving something up worldly, like here, for the sake of hopefully the kingdom afterwards.
Have you ever given up chocolate or a certain type of food for Lent?
Oh yeah, chocolate's like the go-to.
Actually, I'm thinking about giving up chocolate this Lent because chocolate is my dirty little secret.
Oh, yes. Chocolate, alcohol, sweets.
I've not tried giving up coffee because I'm afraid that would make me less than human if I did that, so.
Do you like fasting?
No.
No.
Does anyone like fasting?
I don't know anyone who likes not eating.
I do, actually. It's one of my favorite parts.
I hate fasting.
I find it to be a little bit challenging.
It's hard.
No, I don't really like it that much, but that's okay.
Not really, no. No, I guess that's why fasting is a sacrifice, because I don't enjoy it very much, no.
Fasting can be the most obvious, yet perhaps the most difficult pillar of Lent. What does the Church have to say about fasting?
The Church has always prescribed different kinds of fasting throughout the history of the Church. This is a very common thread you can see from the very earliest times till today. So the rules for fasting today are that you need to observe stricter fasting and no meat on Ash Wednesday and Good Friday. On those 2 days, you're supposed to only have 2 small meals and 1 larger meal that is no bigger than the 2 small meals combined. And then you're also supposed to avoid meat every Friday of Lent. One of the reasons we give up meat as opposed to sort of apples or something else is because we're remembering the sacrifice of Christ. So especially on Fridays, we're remembering the Passion, Good Friday, that Christ gave his body, gave his flesh, and so we abstain from eating flesh on that day. So it's related to the Passion. Famously, Jesus fasted for 40 days and 40 nights after his baptism in order to prepare for his mission. Jesus quotes Deuteronomy to the devil, saying, "Man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God." We're reminding ourselves that this life is more than food, that our final goal is more than our appetites, and that we can survive giving things up. So Lent and fasting is a period of training. We're training ourselves not to be attached to the things of the world.
We see fasting everywhere, throughout history, in the scriptures, and even today, it's so common. Right here, I have the very proof of the impact of even Catholic fasting. Let me explain. Right here is the filet-o-fish. We all know what this is, this fast food Lenten staple. But it's not just some random menu item. McDonald's made the filet-o-fish in response to Catholic fasting. They realized they weren't getting as many sales, not as many hamburgers going out the door, because Catholics were abstaining from meat on Fridays. And so they created this as an alternative. Fasting is something that has always been present, and there's a reason why. We know that there's a good in denying ourselves and saying no to our appetites. It's a very human challenge. But beyond that, what should fasting look like from a Catholic perspective?
Fasting for us is probably the one that we like the least, right? It's something just that is right under the skin. It's the most tactile. Fasting is something that we feel in our bones. And it's not something that we can even run away from. And it takes kind of intentionality. It takes a discipline, like you would going to the gym. discipline is allowing oneself to understand and have that balance and understanding what is it that I need versus what is it that I want. For example, donuts are a wonderful thing. We love donuts. Donuts have a goodness, right? There's a yummy goodness. But we don't eat a plate of donuts every time we walk past it because it's because of its yummy goodness, because we achieve and seek a higher goodness, which is health. And in Lent and with fasting, it is a particular purpose to strive to reorient and value and incorporate those disciplines in our life to reorient ourselves to God.
It'd be very easy for me to give up creamed spinach or broccoli or other things that maybe you'd say are these health foods that I could give up kale in a heartbeat and I wouldn't miss it. But if you ask me to give up something that is a comfort food, I am reminding my body that my soul is in charge and that the soul says, as good as this may be, it's not what is best. So that's why we allow our stomachs to growl a bit during the season of Lent, because we remind the body that the soul is hungering and thirsting for the things of God. And whereas the things of the world may not be bad, they're not the most important thing.
One of the Psalms in the Easter Vigil says this: "As a deer longs for running streams, my soul longs for you, my God." It's beautiful that that's kind of the beginning of the Easter celebration. It kind of caps off everything we've been doing during Lent. Lent is that time where, like the deer, we learn that longing in our heart. It's why we need fasting. When we choose fasting in Lent, when we choose fasting at any time, we're cutting out the non-essentials in life so that we can feel that desire, that burning longing that we have for God. We learn how to long for the Lord the way that the deer longs for running streams.
Fasting is not just about food. It's a very simple way. It's a very basic way in that, everybody needs to eat. But I think as we develop and mature in our own self-awareness and self-reflection, as we examine ourselves, we can find our way toward fasting in perhaps more meaningfully intentional ways. Fasting from your phone, social media, giving up something that's good, maybe innocuous, not necessarily a bad thing. The intentionality to do something not for solely your sake, but for the intention of drawing closer and developing that relationship with God is the purpose.
In our modern world, the idea of going without, of being uncomfortable, can be so foreign to us. We simply expect to have amenities like warm running water in the shower, snacks in the pantry, air conditioning. These things are just a given in our day-to-day lives. Part of Lent is learning how to live without some of these things that make our lives more comfortable, for the purpose of making space in our hearts for God. After all, in the Ash Wednesday readings, we hear how we're supposed to return to the Lord with our whole hearts, with fasting. There are so many ordinary comforts that we could give up. Technology, entertainment, food, of course. So how can we invite fasting into our normally comfortable lives?
If you're coming from a place where maybe it's been a while, maybe you've never really actually entered into Lent, that's sort of a kind of intentionality that maybe you're desiring right now. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Start small. And don't have to do everything. Pick one thing that is personal to you. But I think before you choose what might be good for you, you kind of have to take a time and ask, where am I in my life? What are the things that maybe are more wants than needs? Where are those imbalances that may even particularly distract me from God? Where are those things in my life that maybe I find myself I don't want to do, but I do, like St. Paul says, or I'm not doing the things that I want to do or should do, as St. Paul says, same line. Habits are a really good place to start. What are my habits? In what way do they take away in my time, in my desires from the better things? And to practice for a time, withholding those habits that we've just gotten so used to and intentionally striving for a greater good, namely God. I think there has to be that self-reflection, and it's not going to be the same for every person. Don't be preoccupied with what you're doing. It's not really about what you do. It's about the quality of the love with which you do it. So don't judge your prayer. Don't judge your intent. Offer what you can, but offer it for the love of God and be amazed at what God can do with it.
This is where rubber meets the road. It's time to figure out how you can incorporate fasting into your Lent. What are you going to give up? Is it social media? Is it some sort of food? Is it music? Do some reflection and think about your fasting. Pray about your fasting. How are you going to make space for God in your life? How are you going to let yourself feel some of that discomfort? Remember, the desert of Lent is supposed to be uncomfortable. So don't shy away from that. Embrace it. Decide what you're going to give up, write it down, and then with some of that extra time, with that energy, return to the foundation of prayer that we talked about earlier. Now is the chance to get practical about what it is you can live without. And then do that thing, and do it for the love of God. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of How to Lent. Normally, it's only available on formed.org, but we wanted to make sure it was available to all of you as well. So I hope you're finding it helpful in your journey to prepare for Lent. I wanted to take a quick moment to let you know about an amazing tool that we made in order to help you continue your Lenten journey. Linked below are these amazing mini journals that we made that have questions and journaling space for you to reflect on what God is calling you to this Lent, to write down your commitments. Along with that, there are also going to be some reflections and journaling space for our upcoming Formed Lenten series called Foretold. This series is all about uncovering God's providence through the Old and New Testament using the backdrop of the incredible Lateran Basilica in Rome. It's featuring one of our very own theology professors, Dr. Sean Innerst. If you liked How to Lent, this is going to be an amazing series to dive deeper into during the Lenten season. And the best part is, if you get the journal down below, you'll also receive 3 months of Formed for free. So you'll be able to follow along with Foretold, watch the rest of How to Lent, and enjoy so much other amazing Catholic content for you and for the whole family. So check it out in the link below. Thanks so much for watching.